Hello, 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 hello. It is a fabulous Wednesday here in Virginia Beach. The weather is gonna be beautiful this week and I am loving it, loving it. So, in true fashion, I spent some time just in silence about a half hour ago to figure out what I was going to chat about today because it's very fluid a lot of the times. And sometimes I'll get the hint, like I'll get the idea first thing in the morning. Sometimes I don't get it until later on in the day. And I hadn't had oh my God, I want to talk about this until I sat in some silence this afternoon. Hello there, welcome, welcome. So excited for you all to be joining me today. So I am talking about this because this was a conversation that I had with a girlfriend recently and it really just resonated. And we were chatting and she said, well, I just don't feel loved. And we were talking about our husbands in this conversation. And in true fashion, I am very respectful with this. And so I always ask when somebody starts in on these conversations, do you want me to listen? Do you want to just vent and get it off your chest? Or do you want support? Do you want me to help you, to give you ideas on this? And she was very open to ideas. So we're having this conversation and it just keeps coming up. I just don't feel loved. I just don't feel loved. I just don't feel loved. And I know that this is true not just for her. I know that this happens to us on a regular basis all the time. And so I was in this space yesterday morning. I was feeling off, wasn't feeling loved, was feeling frustrated and annoyed because I wasn't feeling loved. And so I had to check myself and give myself a whole bunch of love yesterday morning and connect back in. And so when it comes to this idea of not feeling loved, the very first thing that I always ask somebody is, okay, if you're not feeling loved, do you know how you actually receive love? And I'm never surprised when people go, well, no, I don't actually know. So if you don't know how you actually receive love, there's a free quiz. You can go to Google and type in 5 love languages quiz. It's a short little quiz, won't take you more than 15 minutes, but it will help you understand most of the time how you're going to receive love. Okay? For me, I'm in acts of services. That is number 1 on my how I receive love. It is also how I give love. This is so important to know about yourself. Now, there are 5 love languages. Okay? There's a book, there's a whole bunch of different books on it. There are 5 key love languages, and they are acts of services, words of affirmation, gifts, quality time, and touch. Those are your 5 key areas of love languages. Now, the way we receive love is also the way that we give love. And this is where this disconnect comes with our partner, because oftentimes our partner does not give and receive love in the same way that we do, which is why we don't feel loved. Okay? So for instance, my love language is acts of services. That's number 1 for me. So I will do all of these things for people. I will make my kids' beds. I'll do their laundry. I'll clean the kitchen. I'll put away their laundry. I do a lot of things because that's my love language, is acts of services. Okay. Inadvertently, my husband's love language is quality time. That's not a high one for me. It's like number 3 or 4. And so I have to remind myself, okay, he actually receives love when I sit down and I watch a football game with him. Do I love to watch football? No, it makes me crazy. But sitting there, having that quality time with him, that's how he receives love. So, 1, if you're not feeling loved, you have to know how you actually give and receive love. I also know all of the love languages for my kids because I want them to feel loved. And so I have to work in those other areas that I'm not necessarily so strong in order for them to feel love, because their love languages are all very different, right? So my son, his love language is words of affirmation. My oldest daughter, she is gifts. My middle daughter, she is acts of services, and my youngest daughter is touch. And so I know those. Now they shift, right? A lot of the times when kids are younger, it's touch and quality time. Those are their big ones typically when they're younger, but it does change. And so you just have to be aware, because they're going to give you love in the way that they feel loved. That's just how we are. That's how we set up. So if you're not feeling loved, you've got to, one, figure out what your love language is. You've got to know what that is in order to bring that to somebody's attention. Because if you don't know, you're just, it's just a shot in the dark, right? It's not going to work if you don't know what your love language is in the first place, okay? Then when it comes to, after you know what your love language is, you've got to let people know. Okay, so prime example, right? So it was about a year ago. I was so frustrated and I wasn't feeling loved. And I looked at my husband and I was like, hey, my love language is acts of services. So that means that I want you to do shit around the house for me. That makes me feel loved. And he chuckled about it, but he also got it. And so you've got to be able to communicate it. One, you've got to say, hey, this is actually how I receive love. I'm not feeling very loved, and it's not necessarily their fault, right? This is a two-way street, but you can have the courage to say, hey, you know what? I'm actually not feeling loved. This is how I would prefer to receive love. And then you've got to give them the space and the grace to do it, while also simultaneously letting them know when they hit the nail on the head, right? So same sort of thing, especially in our intimate relationships, right? This is something that we can sometimes struggle with as women, because as women, we can pick up on all these other subtle hints, right? When you think of hanging out with your girlfriend, you know instantly if they're in a good mood, bad mood, what's going on. We just pick up on it, right? Men don't necessarily pay attention to it. They have the ability to pick up on it. They don't necessarily pay attention to it. And so we can't run around thinking that they're going to read our minds and not actually communicate with them. That is why there are so many books that are like men are from Mars, women are from Venus kind of things. Our communication is very, very different. So we've got to break that barrier and figure out, okay, one, here's how I receive love. It is also inadvertently how I give love. So let's figure out how we can bridge that gap, okay? Then you've got to say something, okay? One thing that I find super, super helpful, okay, is when my husband does do something, I am over the moon excited about it. Okay, I love when he took out the vacuum the other day and started vacuuming the house, or when he, did whatever without being asked. I love that. And so I make sure to say that I love that. That makes me feel so loved when someone else will grab the vacuum or clean the kitchen or, put the laundry away or whatever. If they do that without me asking, there is so much love that I feel. It is incredible, right? And so sometimes it does take kind of a training process to get them to realize this, okay? And this is true even with our children, okay? There is a training process that has to occur because people don't necessarily pick up on it instantaneously. If it is not their love language, it is not going to come natural. Just how it goes, right? So if you think of, maybe your love language, right? My love language is acts of services. That trumps sitting down on the couch and watching something with my husband, or, sitting outside, or, whatever, right? Doing something for him, whatever it may be, right? That's going to trump giving him love as opposed to, sitting there and hanging out, right? That is just how so I have to be mindful Okay, quality time, right? Quality time, sit down on the couch, chill out. There's nothing else that you have to do. Your husband wants to receive love, just chill out, right? Like, I've got to train myself to give love that way. And so I can't expect somebody else to also pick up on it just like that, right? Now, in this conversation that I was having with my girlfriend, right, these are so important here. But what is also important is that you are giving love to yourself. So once you know what your love language is, how can you give yourself love, right? Can you get yourself little gifts if that's your love language? Can you, draw yourself a bath if it's an acts of service kinds of things, right? Like, I love to do stuff for myself. It doesn't always have to cost me anything. Like this afternoon, I cleaned off the hammock and I laid out in the hammock. And that filled up my little love cup, right? Like, you have to love yourself as well. I have this great saying that love yourself so much that love from anybody else is overflow, right? You cannot, well, I mean, you can, a lot of people do, but it's not super helpful. And it's going to probably blow up in your face at some point. But we can't depend on love from coming just outside of ourselves. We can't depend on somebody else filling up our love cup enough. We've got to be responsible for that on our own. And then the love from everybody else becomes extra, it becomes overflow. And that really helps to keep a relationship in a great place, because if we rely too much on this external validation of love, then we put too much pressure on that person, right? And then it's like, what is that? Elmira, right? That cartoon from years ago, I just dated myself, where she gets that that cat, and she's like, I'm gonna hug you and love you and squeeze you and all these things, right? And she just like loves on this thing so much that it's like too much for the cat. The cat's like, I'm out of here. I don't even know if it's a cat, whatever it is, but like, she just loves on this thing too much that it's like, peace out, see you later, right? And that can put a strain on a relationship. If you are expecting the other person to love you so much that your cup is full, that can be damaging. You really have to love yourself first and allow the rest of it to be extra and overflow. Okay? So, to recap, here we go. To recap, 1, you've got to know what your love language is. If you're not feeling loved, check in with yourself. What is your love language? 2, have you communicated this with your partner? Do they know what your love language is? And if they do they need reminding of it? Okay? And then this third part is the encouragement, right? Like, it feels good when somebody's like, hey, that's a great job, like patting you on the back, like, awesome, I love when you do that, right? That makes me feel loved. Say, like, a very simple example of this, right? Let's say you love coffee. I don't love coffee, but let's say you're a coffee drinker and your partner is really sweet to you one day and gives you, like, makes you coffee the way they like coffee, but it's not the way you like coffee. Are you going to, 1, drink the coffee, think it's the greatest thing in the world, and never tell them how you actually like your coffee? Or 2, are you going to say, oh my gosh, I love this so much. The coffee's incredible. I prefer less sugar, more cream. 2, I'm going to do the second one. Because if they're going to make me coffee, I really want to enjoy it. I don't want to be in the back of my head going, oh my God, this isn't great. It's okay, right? Like, they can't get it right if they don't know how to get it right. So you've got to have that conversation with them. They're not going to read your minds. We don't want them to read our minds, quite frankly, because it's chaos in there. Total anarchy sometimes, right? So when it comes to this, again, find out what your love language is. Make sure you're communicating it and they're understanding it, right? I remember the first time my husband and I did this quiz. We actually did it together. He did it on his phone, I did it on my phone, and then we compared it. We were like, oh, okay, that makes sense, right? This is different. No wonder why, right? And we had done it, we did this quiz leading up to a deployment. And, you know, I expressed to him like, hey, my love language is acts of services. And you're going to be deployed, so you're not going to be able to do a bunch of stuff for me, so I'm going to need you to like step up this one, right? Words of affirmation. I was like, I'm going to need you to step up words of affirmation, like send me little love text messages, all this other stuff, right? And then I recall when I was pregnant, for the last two specifically, for the two little girls, I struggled with feeling like attractive, right? And so I told my husband, like, physical touch became very important for me. That was my love language during that, while I was pregnant. And I said to him point blank, I'm going to need you to like grab a boob, grab a butt. Like, I'm going to need you to interact with me so that I know that I'm still attractive to you, like to receive love. Like, that's what I need from you while I'm pregnant. And he was like, done, right? And he would casually grab a boob or a butt or whatever it was, right? Like, but we have to be able to communicate that with our partner, because otherwise it's a shot in the dark. They don't know. And if we're not communicating it, it's not fair to them. Okay. You're never going to go to the Starbucks and be like, just get me what you want. You're never going to get what you want if you go to Starbucks and it's like, your choice. It's not going to happen. You're going to be disappointed. So why not set yourself up for success here? Know what your love language is. Communicate it with your partner, and then be okay with the learning process. It's gonna take time. We've got to give ourselves grace, because sometimes we're gonna fall out. We're gonna forget what their love language is, vice versa. It's okay. We're human. This is what happens. So sometimes you need to regroup and come back to it. So I hope this helped. This was definitely fun for me. I am done with this video for today. I do also want to remind you that the Love and Money Master Course starts on November 1st. So next Wednesday, so a week from today, Love and Money Master Course starts next week. This is all around the feminine energetics of receiving. Okay. This is so important. If you are looking to receive more love and money into your life, you've got to know about these concepts. And so this is foundational work. This is about getting yourself comfortable with receiving more, because ultimately we want to get to the next level, right? So this is going to be an incredible master course. Right now it is $777 for this master course. If you have questions about it, you want some more details, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. You can comment below or send me a message. I'll be happy to send you that information. And we are going to get started on Wednesday. This is a live program. So you're going to be with me for 30 days. It is an immersion into the feminine energetics. It's gonna feel uncomfortable, but it's gonna be totally worth it. So if you're looking for the next level of receiving in love and money, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm excited for this master course. Again, it's going to be live coaching calls. We're going to do it through Zoom. You will have support in the Facebook group as well, but the calls will be Zoom. So I'm sending you so much love. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.